we just press the record button and it's like, we're just going to figure it out. We're going to fly the plane, or we're going to land the plane as we fly it. We're going to build the plane as we fly it. What's the euphemism, Dr. Dain?
We're just fucking flying. Why do we need a plane? That's my question.
Nice. I'm excited to talk, and I want to be totally honest with you. It's you deserve honesty, and I want to be honest to everyone listening now. I have very little experience with access consciousness. What I do have is firsthand accounts of how incredible it is. And when I just do a little bit of digging and see how people are talking about this framework, this paradigm, this set of tools, and they're like, it's amazing, it'll change your life. And every video is like, it's hard to describe. And also my mind is blown. I know there's something there. 190 countries is not, that's earned. So if you would start out by introducing yourself and giving just like the nut graph, the little teaser for what access consciousness is.
Did you say the nut grab?
Nut grab, the nut grab. You know the nut grab.
Just give you the. It's just, let's start with a little nut grab. That sounds like a great idea. Hey, hi, my name is Dr. Dain Heer. There you go. That's my introduction. I'm a co-creator of something called Access Consciousness. What access is a way of accessing the consciousness, the awareness, the knowing that's already within you. So you can create the miraculous life that you always knew was possible that you haven't been able to create yet. There you go. Now, within that, we have so much on every subject you could imagine. We have a way of addressing it, because the only time we ever create a difficulty in our lives is when we function from unconsciousness or unawareness, when we go against our knowing, or when we take on things that are not true for us. And we have really quick, really dynamic ways of changing it. In fact, if you're not noticing the change while we're doing it, then we move in a different direction, because that's how quick it should be. Whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's, a stuck place in your life in any way.
Beautiful. In my experience through this wild world, I have been exposed to all manner of biohacking and transformation. I have a certification as a transformational life coach. I've been coaching one-on-one for 10 years. I'm familiar with the Joe Dispenzas of the world and the Bruce Liptons of the world. And I've, interviewed Dr. Lipton and Dean Radin. And so I have this awareness, I have this knowledge of the power of the mind, the power of personal agency and sovereignty to be able to change your life and make it better and achieve the goals that you're after. How is access consciousness different? Because that's what everyone says. How is it different than some of these other sort of personal development paradigms?
So first, I want to say I love your perspective, like that like certified life coach who recognizes you can change things. And then we get into biohacking, life hacking also. Access is different in a couple of ways. One is the tools that we have work really fast and really dynamically, but also if there's such a thing as a reality, which there appears to be if you watch anything or look outside or talk to people, it functions beyond current reality. And that's the gift of it. And how do you explain that to somebody who believes there is only this reality? Well, come experience it, and access is really a balm to the soul, if you will, for the seekers of the world, the people who have been trying to change things, whether it's, and it doesn't matter which way, it's not necessarily personal development people, it could be biohacking people, anybody who's looking to change something. When they get involved with access and start using the tools, because it's about the tools. It's about empowering you to know that you know. And our tagline, that's exactly our tagline. And we also have a definition of consciousness, which is where everything exists and nothing is judged. And that platform, what it creates is it's not a rehashed or slightly better or upgraded version of what we've seen before. It's dynamically different than anything you've ever seen before, which, and when I'm saying it, you're the one asking me the question, so I'm doing my best to give you my most direct, honest answer. And I'm grateful also because most people won't ask a question like that because they assume that everything is a flavor of what's come before. Access is not. Access is a completely different animal. But you see, the very nature of reality itself, though, is we're taught to look for similarities. We're taught to look for patterns. We're taught to put something in a box and go, oh, that's like this, but not in this way. Access doesn't fit any of that. It is totally different. We have things that are not explainable in a podcast, but very experienceable. And we change shit really friggin' fast, like really fast. And I'm talking so fast, it would make your head spin. But like, for example, I was on a call that I did with, I don't know, a few hundred people yesterday. And it was about, are you a have or a have not? And in an hour long call, so I asked everybody, okay, so if you were to go out and explain this to people, what would you say? Like, does anybody have anything? They just went, I'm like, cool. How different is your space now? So because one of the things that can help all of us, one of the tools of access is that what's true for us makes us lighter. A lie always makes us heavier, or something that's not congruent with us will always have a sense of heaviness or twist to it. And so in asking, this is just one example, but asking them, okay, so how much lighter are you than when we started this call? And people are like, so much I can't even describe. And I went, okay, so now look at your future. What will the space of your future be like in the next 5 years as a result of doing this series? And everybody went, holy crap, it's totally exploded what was possible. But here's the greatest difficulty. Like you said, you can't explain it. I try to show up and be like, hey, here's an energy of possibility, but there's no way to put this into words.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Because I'm going to keep scratching at it, and we'll paint a picture and tell a story and have some fun today. There's a couple of things that really jumped out at me. One, tools. That's the tools that I coach around, the tools that I use with my coaching clients, with my kids, which they are resistant to. Shocker. My 12 and 9-year-old, they're as bizarre a person as I am in my world of psychedelics and biohacking and dry fasting and weirdness. They're still resistant to some of this stuff, which I don't blame them for. The tools, the things that you just said that really resonate with me is the tools, because you could have all these, frameworks and ideas. You could have all these, one-liners and, well-crafted packages but really what it boils down to is, what do you do? How do you do what you do? What tools do you use? And I think that that's really important. The other thing is experience. This is center of the bullseye for me as well, which is, you could watch a bunch of YouTube videos. That's cool. You could read books. You could listen to this podcast. You could listen to You Today. For some reason, I'm big in Sweden. So everybody in Sweden right now who's listening, you could understand this. You could learn it and have some insight, but experience is everything. Experience is everything in biohacking and personal development. You have to actually get it in your body. You have to grok it. You have to go through this thing, this gnosis, this transformation, because without that, it's all theoretical and academic. So given those two things, and there's a bunch of other things I want to get at, but give me an idea of one of the tools that you use frequently. And you don't have to give away the special sauce. I would love it if you did, but you don't have to. Give us an idea. Give it as an example of a tool that you use that people are always like, whoa, that blew my mind. I'm different now.
Oh, so many. Also, here's the thing about the special sauce and the uniqueness and specialness of the tools is its application to an individual, but also collectively. So What I mean is, if you have something you want to work on that we can work on, that's far more effective than tell me this special tool, because every one of us is different. I mean, I can give you, I could just spout all kinds of things. Like, for example, I'll give you, goodness, so many things we could do. But I'll give you one thing as an awareness that might be helpful. Because the other thing is, I'm not here to talk about me, you know. And when I say that, what I mean is, for the people listening, I'm here to do what I can to contribute value to them. Whether they ever come and do access or not, I don't care. I don't care whether you do access. I want to give you some tools you can use, because if you start realizing change is possible, you become a voice for change. You know it's possible. You invite others to know it's possible too. And we are all together on this big, beautiful marble. So let's make it as great as possible for all of us. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because it's my target, okay, to actually create a thriving future for all of us. And we're capable of it, but nobody's talking about it. Nobody is, I mean, well, not nobody, but very few people are talking about it from a place in which it can actually show up. It can actually be our reality. And so I know it's possible. You know, I've been doing this for 26 years. I worked with hundreds of thousands, probably over the hundreds of thousands mark at this point, and I see it all the time. So the tool, sorry, my ADHD is also rather intense, so I apologize.
You're in good
So
company.
what's that? Yeah,
You're in
right.
good company. Yeah, you're good.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to say one thing before I forget, which is, you mentioned the psychedelics. If you know that thing that happens, let's say with microdosing, where it's like there's a break with the structure of reality having to be what it used to be.
Oh yeah.
That's what access creates you living without the psychedelics. In other words, you access getting to be that because you stop believing what has been created as reality is the only game in town, the only thing that exists. You start accessing the spaces beyond that, which is where we as the infinite beings function. And infinite being, that's a concept for a conversation for another time. But if we recognize that we're way bigger, our being doesn't just fit inside of our body.
Yeah.
And we're connected to the entire universe quite literally. Well, then how do we access that with a body? And then how do we have that contribute to our body? But our body is so dynamically a conglomeration of the points of view that we bought about not only the nature of reality itself, but the nature of embodiment. And so if you can change those points of view, like I've worked with people who've had, like, you name it, you name the condition. I worked with people who've had it. And it always boils down to an unconscious or anti-conscious point of view or set of points of view that they have developed that they're living as their reality, because your point of view creates your reality. Reality doesn't create your point of view. And our bodies are the receipt points for so many of those things. And one of the unfortunate things that any exploration of more awareness seems to lead people to, because it's the nature of this reality, nature of reality itself as it's been handed to us, is more judgment about what's good and what's bad and what's right and what's wrong. And that judgment is the biggest killer there is. So when you go, oh, this supplement is right, or these peptides are right, and this is wrong, sugar's wrong, blah, 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 blah. What if it's not? But our judgment makes it so. And that is one of the biggest things that we have done because it seems easier to create a structure of what's right and adhere to that, even if it seems uncomfortable or we don't like it or whatever, rather than it is to ask our body, would you like this supplement? Body, will this create the result? Body, how much of this would you like? Body, like, our body is there trying to communicate with us all the time, and we never fucking ask. Pardon my F words.
Oh,
Okay.
let them fly.
Okay, cool. But we don't ask. It's
Yeah.
as though we're walking around trying to control it from the outside, thinking there's somehow, if I just get this, if I just get my body fat, if I just get this, if I get my numbers here, if I get my, if I get my personal best over this or under this, it's like, no, what about, hey, body, hi. Here's the result I would like. What's it going to take? Can you show me, please? Because our bodies have a consciousness of their own, and it's never acknowledged. It's as though they're these meat sacks that are just there to be the receipt point of our judgment, and we need to judge them more to make them greater. But how would you feel if somebody treated you that way? How would you feel if somebody treated you the way you treat your body, with that much
Oh,
judgment, with that
yeah.
much force? You'd be
Yes.
like, we're not friends. Get out of my
Yeah.
life, but your body can't kick you out. So there's a different way of going about it in which we start to acknowledge our bodies have consciousness, our bodies have awareness. If we would just begin having a conversation with them, asking, and it sounds so, and here's the other part of some of these tools that are most profound, is they seem too simple to even work. When I say, okay, so about, the supplements that you have on your, on your nightstand, okay, every day go, body, would you like this? And you can do a real simple muscle test. Put your feet together, put your ankles, and your feet together and hold it in front of your solar plexus and go, hey, body, if you want this, lean forward. And if you don't, lean back. And
Hmm.
which in itself sounds deceptively simple, but it's about changing the paradigm that we are fundamentally against our bodies in order to create change in our bodies.
Oof. You've tapped beautiful. You've tapped into a big issue around the way that disease is characterized and talked about, right? You've tapped into a sort of allopathic paradigm at which you need to fight cancer and fight lupus and fuck cancer and kill the things inside of you that are making you sick. And you and I both know that sort of adversarial way of thinking about it puts you at odds with your body. It just in the language that's used. I want to beat cancer. Well, okay, I get it. However, we all have cancer cells in our body all the time. Like that is a fact. We all have it. So do we want to beat it, or do we want to move through it? Do we want to transform it? Do we want to So I think that's a really
Well,
important point.
well, I'm really glad you brought that up. So let me tell you what I do when I work with somebody who has something that is threatening to end their life. So for me, it's about bringing consciousness, bringing awareness, because we don't create these things randomly. They don't happen to us. They happen because of some point of view that we have, or a huge number of points of view that we have. They happen for a reason, basically, and they happen based on our choice. And so, what I will ask if somebody has something that is threatening to end their life like that, I'll go, okay, so what are you dying to get out of? Like I worked with, and by the way, I am in no way saying I heal cancer. I don't heal anything. Okay. The only thing I can do is give somebody an awareness and give them access to certain energies that they can use to create whatever result they're willing to have. But what I can also do using the access tools is get them out of the clutter and get them out of the mind fuck that they're living in, that it creates whatever it is as the only choice. So as an example, the first time this came up, I was working with a lady who had breast cancer, and I'd never worked with anybody like that before, but I knew that whatever we're creating in our bodies, even if it's really intense, there's some choice that we've made. So I asked her, okay, what are you dying to get out of? And she was like, oh my God, nothing. And we have this thing called a clearing statement, which basically the way it works is it's basically quantum physics meets consciousness. And it's about allowing you just with one sentence to go back to the point of creation of wherever you created a limitation when you're ready to change it and undo the polarity of it. And so I did this. I said, what are you dying to get out of? She's like, oh, nothing. I went, okay, will you let that go, please? And she went, okay, fine. And I ran the clearing statement: right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. And I said, okay, what are you dying to get out of? She was like, nothing. It took me about 15 layers. And I asked her again, what are you dying to get out of? Because there was no resolution. There was just little layers going away. And she went, oh my God, my relationship.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah.
Right. And you can see that, right? From if you're not the one with it, you can see. that
Yeah.
people create these things. But if you're the one with it, it goes back also to that experience of something different. If you're the one with it, you're up here trying to figure it out, trying to avoid what's going on in here, as though if you can avoid it strong enough, then you won't be the effect of it. Hey, fireworks on that. Gotta love Zoom. How did I do fireworks on Riverside?
I have never seen that before. That's the first time I've seen a firework. For those of you watching on YouTube, you just saw that. For those of you listening, for the first time in fireworks went off behind Dr. Dain. That was wild. Please continue.
Welcome to my world, my friend. This is the way it works. So the people try to do some combination of avoiding while trying to force, while trying to believe, while trying to act like it's not a problem, while secretly having all kinds of agendas of what is being fulfilled energetically by having whatever they're creating. And all of that stuff that creates disease, that creates stiffness, that creates injury, not being able to be healed, is all of that stuff. My train of thought just left the station without me on it. That was really funny. I was like, whoa, give me, dear Lord, what a day. That's awesome. Oh, the ADHD is strong with this one.
Well, I can jump in. As you
for it.
sort of gather together. Well, it sounds a little bit to me, and forgive me if I'm like, well, that sounds like this or that's like this, but that's that's how we kind of roll through this, and I help try to explain and present this information to people so that it's actionable and so that it's useful. What I was recently introduced to this medical paradigm called German New Medicine. And German New Medicine, the framework is that any sort of physical manifestation of anything in your body, good, bad, indifferent, is it comes from your emotions, comes from your relationships, comes from the way that you see yourself, comes from your brain first. It comes from maybe not your brain, but from your emotional body. And for those of you who are familiar with, the work of Rudolf Steiner and the sort of thoughts about we have these different bodies. We have this physical body, we have an emotional body that has kind of is doing its own thing. And if the issue that woman was dealing with was a manifestation of some conflict, or into your question, what are you dying to get rid of or dying to get away from, a relationship, the fact that physical manifestation comes from some sort of other tension in the emotional body or in the brain or in the attitudes makes sense to me. It certainly contributes.
Absolutely. And that, with what we do with access consciousness, that is the journey we go on to find it and give somebody a choice. They don't have to let it go. They don't have to change it, but to be able to find what's actually underneath the surface that's creating what is actualizing, what's showing up for somebody. And so it's, and it's why I said, the greatest element of this is the secret sauce is actually, but it works with groups also, because groups have collective points of view, and they have different things that we've experienced that are similar, that lock things into our world in a particular way. And so what this is about then is a question that might help people if they have something going on. A few things. Number one, realize that when you make a decision or a judgment or a conclusion about something, you're stuck with it. That becomes your reality. Okay. So if you judge, I'm too fat, guess what? Now you're too fat.
You're too fat.
Yeah. Because your point of view creates your reality. But it's our hidden points of view that are non-cognitive that are creating every limitation we have that we can't overcome. So just the very act of asking a question, a great question on a very general level is, what else is possible I've never considered? Very simple, very direct. What else is possible I've never considered? What that does is, like, let's say you're looking at whatever you've got going on with your body, and you're in a stuck place and you just go, okay, what else is possible I'd never considered? And then also another general question, what's it going to take to change this? And body, show me what you require and desire in order to change this. Like for me, just a tiny example. It's like, for me, I haven't been, somebody who did all the blood tests and all this sort of stuff. I just sort of follow what my body wanted. And I have a guy that comes to my house and does ozone. And he's a great, naturopathic sort of guy with, will do labs and all that sort of stuff. And one day he was over, I've been working with him for years. And one day he was over, I was like, hey, can I get some blood panels done and find out what my body needs from that perspective? But it was because I had asked my body. I was like, hey, I'm tired. I don't seem to have the energy. I don't seem to have the pep, the vigor. And I'd been trying things. But then when I said, hey, body, what do you require? It was like, talk to this guy, get some blood panels done. And your body doesn't talk in words. It just gives you this like, oh, you just all of a sudden you're like, hey, can we do this? Or you'll see an ad for something, go, that, definitely that. There was one lady who was asking to change her, like she had been doing diets her whole life. And she came to a class and we said, well, ask your body what it's going to take to change this, whether it's a diet or something else, because we have no idea what it takes. We think we know, but if you've tried it and it doesn't work, that's probably not the thing that's going to work, right? I mean, that's pretty smart. And so she said, body, what's it going to take to change this? Just show me. She was walking in Central Park in New York and she heard these people talking about a diet. She just heard these two words and her body just about threw itself over the park bench to get to the information. She's like, what are you guys talking about? So they gave her the info. Within 3 months, she had lost 80 pounds. Dude. But this is and I probably, to people who are allopathic and mechanistic, I sound crazy right now, but it would be one thing if it were just me who's had results. It's not that. It's hundreds of thousands of people who've had results, and a lot of them far more miraculous than anything we've even mentioned so far. But it's from this different perspective that your body has consciousness, but also that we can get underneath those hidden points of view that are locked in our insane mind that are stopping us from moving forward, and we don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm. I want to back up the train a little bit, and I would love for you to share your sort of origin story in this work and how you were called to it and where you started, because I think now that we're down the rabbit hole just a little bit, I know we're just starting down the road, but what how did you get into this? Where did you start? What was your history before that?
Well, so back in 2000, I just graduated from chiropractic school a year before, and I was starting my second practice in Santa Barbara. Had a girlfriend. We'd been together for 3 years, and I had been unhappy for actually the better part of 3 years. And when I was a little kid and they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, happy. I know, but do you want to be this? You want to be a doctor? You want to be a lawyer? I don't care as long as I'm happy. And I was not happy. And I had a quote unquote spiritual awakening as I was going to chiropractic school. So I started realizing that it's not just the physical world that we see. There's this whole other universe of things you can access. So I started doing everything I could. I was reading 5 books at a time. I'm one of those people who's like, a seeker, an explorer, like a lot of the people listening to your podcast or watching. And here I was. I went to a weekend workshop and I had been to many. I put many of these weekend workshops on my credit card. And I thought I finally was going to get to be happy. I thought I finally found the answer. And then on Wednesday of the following week, it felt like the universe crashed in on my head again. And for the first time in my 30 years on the planet, I had given up hope. I was like, I am done. Universe, either my life truly changes and I actually get happy or I'm out of here. I literally set a date to end my life 6 months in the future. I knew how I was going to do it. It wasn't going to be around anybody's birthday or a holiday or anything. And I was like, yay, I get to end my suffering. A week later, I see an ad for Access Consciousness that said, Access, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And I was like, I hate you. Okay, my life is pain, suffering, and gory. But I learned if you love something or hate it, there's probably something there for you. So I called, had this girl come over to my office for a session. She did something called access consciousness bars, which is a light touch technique that's done on the head. And somebody puts their hands on your head and then they move them every once in a while. And I thought, man, I've tried everything. Nothing's going to help me, but sure, put your damn hands on my head. A few minutes in, I started having this sense of peace. And I was like, oh, this is really nice. About 20 minutes later, I started giggling like a little kid and didn't stop for the whole hour and 15 minutes of the session. And I got up and whereas been depressed, suicidal, and angry as you can imagine before the session, I got up and I had a sense of gratitude and peace. And I looked outside and I was like, has it always been this beautiful here? And I just never noticed. But I had that experience of it. And I was like, holy crap, if it feels like this, I'm in. Okay. And what happened was I traded her chiropractic because I didn't have the money to pay for the session. And we would get together once a week. She would do this thing called access consciousness bars. And then she would give me a tool to use until I saw her again. And what would happen is when the universe wanted to cave in on my head, I would use the tool and I would get back to that space again. So I was like, oh my gosh, not only do I have this experience, but the experience keeps going and getting greater because now I actually have tools to use in the trenches of life that actually work in the life I'm living to continue creating more of that space. And so fast forward 26 years later, I've been part of co-creating this for the last 26 years because it happened to be her stepfather that created this whole body of work. Universe has a sense of humor, And so, but it's been, access is not static by any means. We change all the time because our entire target is how do we create the change that gives you more of you in a faster, easier, more dynamic way.
Beautiful. I love hearing people's origin stories, and oftentimes it includes some sort of despair, right? Some sort of pendulum point where it's either going to swing this way or not. And what I want to highlight for people listening is, again, Dain had an experience. He had an experience. He said, "Okay, I'm using my credit cards to do all these workshops. I'm well on your path to uh uh you know chiropractic glory, and the experience that you committed to, you bought the ticket, you took the ride, you said, okay, this is hokey, or I don't know about this, I'm not in this place, but go ahead and put your hands on my head." And everybody that's listening right now, I want you to really understand how important it is to go do the thing. Go do the thing. Don't read about the thing. Don't watch the thing. Don't read the thing. Go do the thing. And that's at the heart of what this podcast is, and what I think is critical for everybody and humanity is experience, gnosis, to go do the thing and try the thing. And maybe that's an N of one experiment where you're going to get in a cold plunge. Maybe that's doing a 5-day dry fast. Maybe that's, attending an online event or something like that. But you have to go try it because you never know what is going to stick and what's going to shift your perspective, what might change your life. And it doesn't happen while you're watching Netflix. And it doesn't happen while you're drinking beer at the pub with your friends. It doesn't happen there. It happens when you decide to change something and go have an experience. So, and I know that that's the heart of what you guys are doing, is that it has to be experiential, right?
Absolutely. You can think, and, like we've talked about it, it's so different than other experiences you have, so different than most of what is, well, I'm going to say everything that's out there. There's similarities, but you can't get that difference without experiencing it. Got to try it. But and I'm so grateful that you are making a point of this, not even at all for, access consciousness or me, but for people to realize, stop sitting in your head, live your damn life. Why are you here if not to actually live? You're not here to think about living. You're here to have the experience of living. the experience of being alive, the experience of being fully alive. Hopefully that's why you're listening to this podcast, you know. And if you get nothing else out of the podcast, hopefully you'll at least hear this part. Okay, I'm going to live, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one choice like that can change your entire trajectory. But you never know what the choice is going to be until you choose it and experience it.
Is and again, I'm still scratching, I'm spelunking over here to try to get to some way to characterize this for people so that they can understand. So we know that there's tools, we know that there's, it can include some touch. You talked about muscle testing, which I freaking love. So we're starting to unpack and it's starting to come together for everybody listening. It's kind of, we're kind of putting it together. Um, is access consciousness for everybody?
Hell no.
Good, good.
Absolutely not.
Dane, I cannot tell you how relieved I am to hear that, because if you would have said yes, I would have been skeptical hippo over here for the rest of this conversation, and I probably would have said something. So thank you for saying no, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. And well, yeah, absolutely. And, I think we're on a similar page with, the desire to say what actually is,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm really grateful. I'm grateful you asked, and I got to give my actual answer, because really, hell no is really the actual answer. Even people who've done all kinds of weird stuff may not be for them either. But once again, you don't know until you try some of it out, you know? And then some people who've never done any work to try to change anything come along and like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for, But yeah. So God, there was another thing I was going to say. My train of thought keeps leaving the station without me on it while we're talking. The ADHD is strong. So good.
Who well, give us an example of somebody that it's not for.
Somebody who's not interested in changing something. Somebody who believes in normal, average, real is the only choice you have. Or here's the other part is oftentimes it's for people who didn't think it was for them. So your thinking doesn't even really work. But it's like, if somebody is, if they're looking for the right answer, and if they're looking to be more right, if they're looking to maintain that paradigm of judgment, this is the opposite of that. So it doesn't tend to work. Or somebody who, it can still work for somebody who is primarily interested in image and their following and beauty factor in the world, but not as much as it might be for somebody who's like, basically the person it really works for is somebody who's like, I have tried everything else and it has not given me what I desire. I know there's something else possible. I'm willing to do the work. Show me something that actually values the work I'm going to put in terms of results I'm going to get out. So, and I was going to say, if you want to, Sean, because, I love your spelunking analogy here, because, it's like, strap on the light. Let's try to figure out what this is, but if you want to, if there's something you want to change or work on, and, if you'll let me in, I can show you an example of it. And here's the thing, there's a vulnerability in that, and my point of view is it'll either work or it won't, and
Yeah.
I don't care, to be honest with you. It's like I can only do my best. Each person has their choice to make. But if there is something you want to work on, that might be, and or not, we don't have to at all, but
Yeah, no, I like
I'm
it.
just
I
throwing
like
that
it.
out there as a
No,
possibility.
I like it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Something that I want to change.
Well, let me start with this question, if I may, because I'd like to broaden the horizon, maybe beyond what you may have thought of or thought we could address. So basically, the question I ask when I do a session and when I do classes is, if you could have anything out of this, what would it be? If you could change anything, like what one area, if you could have change in it, would move the needle the most for you? That.
One area that would move the needle for me would be in the resistance that I have I think it's subconscious, around fulfilling my ultimate potential. And I'll get specific because, top 1% podcast, cool, good family and, cool mustache. And so I'm super grateful. I'm happy with who I am and where I'm going. And I think that there is a subtle resistance around um the visibility or fame or fortune that comes around me doing what I was meant to do. And I believe that I am fulfilling my soul contract every day in the work that I do. But it's like, how do I get to that next level, that fullest expression of that I have some issues around, like, um, people who are really highly visible or people who have earned a ton of money doing the thing that they love to do, that is also a personal brand. It feels greedy, it feels like, um, almost like a little feeling of undeservedness to go from where I'm at now to 10xing it in my visibility and impact in the world, because I feel like, maybe that's not for me in this life.
So okay. So will you let me in, please?
Yes, I'll let you in.
Okay. So what I want to ask is actually, because you have so you've obviously looked at this before, probably a lot of times, right? Or at least it's come through your head several times and you kind of, it pings and you go on with your life. But what I want to ask is, what is it you're actually asking for?
I'm actually asking for
That.
greater impact, like scaled impact in the world.
Okay. Okay, so one of the things I do and one of the things Access is all about is addressing the energetics of things, because we're
Mhm.
all energetic beings. And what that means, and if we would acknowledge it, we'd be able to navigate our lives and relationships a lot more dynamically. I'm just saying that for everybody listening, not for you in this moment. But so when you said to maximize my impact, and then you went to, so right there was an energy of what you're asking for and the acknowledgement of it. And then the next sentence was basically, there's this weird thing that we do where, you see, if we can, let me try going this way. If we can stick with our request energetically, meaning, because you were very congruent energetically, and where with that request of maximizing your impact, and then the next sentence or the next concept you presented was the projections of how that should look and what it means and what it's going to. And you notice when you go there, it's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then you feel like, so you have this, which once again, what's true makes us lighter. So you have this idea, this awareness, actually, okay? This awareness of the impact that you're capable of, that you're going to have. Okay. And then it gets discombobulated when it goes into all the projections and expectations of, and when I say it, like, notice energetically when I talk about just the projections and expectations, because there are so many things. It's like a whole universe of projections and expectations. What other people have had, what other people have projected at you, what other people have done, what other people have said. And primarily it's other people's ideas
Right.
of how this should show up to be the right way this should show up for you. That has nothing to do with you. And that's part of the gift of you. So now, here's the other thing. We have this clearing statement. So one of the things I love about Access is we don't just talk at each other and hope to change something. Because how many times have you had the deepest, most meaningful conversation where you got to the thing you knew was limiting you, but it didn't change? And then you do it again, and now you're even more aware of it and even more in judgment of it. Okay. So we have this clearing statement thing that is friggin' awesome. It's like the biggest upgrade in personal development since personal development has existed.
Mm.
So so what I'm going to do is a very general, because part of what I'm doing with you is being with both parts of this, the part of the thing that you brought up that had that lightness, the impact that and you would like, that you're congruent with, that's yours, and then it gets all this stuff. So everything that is this, and then all of the projections, expectations, and everybody else's stuff that you bought, and everywhere you're trying to align and agree, or resist and react, or do the right thing and not do the wrong thing, and everywhere you think somebody else's path is going to work for you, though it never has. Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy and uncreate all that, please, and chart your own times a godzillion. Right, wrong, good, bad, all 100. Pod, poc, shorts, boys. Pod, poc, shorts, boys. Poveds, bases, creations, Emil. I'm even forgetting my own clearing statement. I do that hundreds of times a day when I'm facilitating. Okay, now with just one, we've had a few minutes. Okay, does that feel any different if you look at it? If you get a sense of it?
It simplifies it a little bit.
Okay. So, and this is the thing. And by the way, I don't care if the answer is no. Like for me, I usually go, okay, how's that? Better, worse, or the same? And there's no right answer. Because what I'm looking for is, was that one of the things that's in the direction of changing this, or was that not? You know? Okay. So if you get that sense of that impact and you be with that energetically for a moment, okay, you notice how you kind of, I don't know, like over here, I'm kind of getting tingly, kind of like you want to smile, you're like, yeah. Okay. Everything that is. And everywhere you have been trying to make it an appropriate amount of enthusiasm for the impact that I will have in the world, because if I can do it this way and if I can maintain it in the right and appropriate box, then it will not be too much. I am not secretly so friggin' excited. I just want to scream all the time. Okay, everything that is, everything you're doing to control it rather than allowing yourself to be out of control, definition, limitation, form, structure, and significance. Will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right, wrong. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. Whew. And if you're watching, my hands are moving because that's what they do when the energy moves. I am a weirdo. What are you going to do? Hey, by the way, though, the original meaning of weird is of spirit, fate, or destiny. So when people say you're weird, just go, thank you for the acknowledgement. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how's that? Better, worse, or the same? There's no right answer.
It's about the same.
You're lying.
Well, I'm tapping into
Yeah.
I'm tapping into what actually feels like to shift and change, and getting out of my head and into my heart with it.
Okay, so let's talk for a moment about what you're tapping into.
Yeah.
Is and once again, I realize how weird this can sound, like all this stuff, right? But energetically, we all know. We all have energetic knowing. And I could explain that more to people. Like if you've ever had a conversation with somebody and knew they were having a problem before they said a word, or if you walk into a room of happy people, you get happier. You walk into a room or have a relationship with a sad person, you get sadder. We're all energetic. And if we can go to that instead of our mind, that is the path to freedom.
Yeah.
So with that thing of all that stuff, when you said what I was tapping into was, so was what you were, so truth, yes or no, just whichever answer is lighter, was that stuff you were tapping into actually yours or someone else's?
Within the context, yes. Within the context of the question of what did it shift, how did it shift, that's mine. Yes.
In actuality, and basically what we're addressing is the whole gist of this whole thing. In actuality, what you were tapping into to see whether that was still there, whether it was different.
Mm-hmm.
It's like tapping into a universe of how other people could or could not or would not have all of it to see if it's changed for you.
Right. I get it.
So
So
everything. Go ahead.
the baggage and limitations aren't mine. I know that. Right. The baggage and limitations aren't mine. The assessment of whether or not that shifted after the statement, that is mine. I'm intuitive enough and aligned enough and have done enough work on my own to know that my assessment of the shift, that's mine. The baggage and limitations aren't.
on the one hand, your assessment of the shift is yours. On the other hand, how much have you bought from other people that even about the assessment of the shift? Okay. Because in working with a lot of people for 2.5 decades at this point, okay, there, you get to get a sense of someone's uniqueness, their brilliance in a way that they don't often recognize, which is one of the gifts for me, is seeing that brilliance in people. But so if I can try to explain this, it's like your assessment was the assessment, yes, starts with you and you have the self-awareness, but the idea is that you tapped into, oh, if this changed, then it's different. But is that actually yours? Or have you bought that as yours?
It's mine. It's mine.
Nope. Sorry, I don't normally say no to people, okay,
Yeah.
because I don't want to invalidate anybody. But in this
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
I need to have you have that and me say no so you can see which is actually true. Because here's another, you talked about something that could be really impactful for people, a tool that might. One of the biggest things, 98% of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, 98% of our limited ways of being in the world don't belong to us.
Right.
That's one thing if you can recognize a current state awareness of something like fear, anger, whatever, or, but one of the biggest things that we've done over the course of our lives is take other people's judgments and points of view and energetic structures and buy them as though they are ours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you said that's mine, I was like, no, which once again, I don't usually do, but I needed to do it to create that, pattern interrupt and distinction. Because in actuality, what is it you are that is so much freer than that you've never allowed yourself to be or been given permission to be, allowed yourself to be, been given permission to be?
Mm-hmm.
So everything that is, and everywhere you're like, I don't think I want this. Plus, I don't know how to get there. Tell me how to get there. Because when you have what you have, which is a unique, explosive loveliness, okay? When you have what you have, there's a couple things that go on. One of which is you never want to be too much for other people. You're willing to be a little bit more than is totally acceptable, but never too much because you care about people so much. And when you've been too much, maybe it hasn't worked out as well as you might have hoped, or maybe people created judgment or abuse or whatever. And then the other thing is basically it boils down to, in our desire to be here with and for other people, we mimic and duplicate the structures of their reality of limitation and points of view so that we're basically good people and not bad people.
Yeah.
Thinking that if I'm free, I'm going to be like, a total free radical and blah, blah, blah. Except that, what if that's a lie? What if you were truly free to be you, what if you would be the freedom that set other people free by the space you were willing to be? So everything that is, and I just want to, let me pock and pod this and then whatever's coming up for you. I don't mean to interrupt in any way, but everything that is, and okay, cool. And all of that actually, will you consider taking a walk on the wild side called your reality?
Yeah.
Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. How's that? Better, worse, or the same? No right answer. Or whatever other awareness you were having as we went through that.
Yeah. That's better.
And
yeah. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, I hate to put it that way because people think I'm asking for a judgment or a validation.
Yeah.
I'm actually not. I'm just looking for the change in space versus less space or more.
Yeah. Just really quickly. So I've been doing this work. I've been doing work on myself since I was a kid. I'm I really am completely free to be as weird and as the most extreme expression of myself. And I've got receipts, this podcast is an archive of wild ideas that I uh unabashedly represent and have been. And so when you say, is the assessment of the change mine? It really is mine. It really is mine. And I'm, again, the baggage and limitations around getting to that next level for me, that's not mine. My
Right.
self-assessment of the shift that's happening within the context of you and I talking and doing this exercise, for sure it's mine. And I, as I don't want to make it weird, but it is mine. And I have done a lot of work and feel completely at home and at peace with with my truth day to day, and the assessment of what's going on for me. And so,
Totally.
yeah.
So please know I was not in any way attempting to invalidate that.
Oh yeah, no sweat.
Okay. Just so we know that. So, what would happen if you had everything you're asking for and more?
What would happen? I
Good and bad, what would happen?
Yeah, if I got everything that I asked for and more, what would happen? My life would become much more dynamic. My life, my day to day would shift a lot. The way that I run my household, or the way that I interact with my family would dramatically change. Dramatically change. Um,
You willing to have that change?
yeah, I am. I am.
Truth?
I am willing. My wife doesn't quite I think understand that if and when I get to that next level, I'm going to be gone a lot. I will not, I'm going to be traveling a bit. I'm going to be gone. I can't coach my daughter's soccer team anymore because I'm going to be out and about. I'm going to be busy in the evenings, even busier in the evenings and on the weekends. And she has told me, cool, go crush it, dude. I love you. I support you. Whatever you got to do, go do. I hear those words, but I don't know that she really understands what that would mean for me to go from where I'm at now to where I'm going.
Yeah. So, a couple things on that. Number one is, well, I'm going to say this so you can change it if you want to, but everything you're avoiding so that you don't have to have a conflict that you believe would be in conflict with your integrity, with your relationship, with the father, with the husband that you are, everywhere avoiding it, everything you're avoiding for that, or as a result of that, will you destroy and uncreate all that, please?
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. See, this is also a time where it's time to introduce some questions in that based on the reality you had before this moment, the projection is, when I get this, all of this will happen, and I'm not necessarily willing to have that happen. Like for you, you're like, I'm okay with it, except, and here's another, given your level of awareness, I want to also present, just for you personally and anybody out there who's done a lot of work, there will be times where you lie to yourself. And when I say lie to yourself, I don't mean you're a bad person and you're lying. What I mean is, you'll believe it's one thing, but you'll have a sense of, that's not quite as congruent as I could be. And if we can recognize those times, because if you're somebody who's done a lot of work, you've shaved off layer after layer after layer after layer. So now we're down to hairs of awareness, we're not dealing with bricks, and skyscrapers of stuff. We're dealing with this hair is out of place. But when at a certain level, that hair being out of place irritates you and becomes a burr under your saddle. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so if you're not truly congruent with yes, what happens is it won't show up. But if you've decided you're congruent with yes, then rather than looking at I'm not congruent with yes, rather than addressing that what's actually going on, you're looking out here for why can't this get created? Whereas if you go to am I actually congruent with this getting created?
Mm-hmm.
And there's all kinds of, in asking questions, we can find out, okay, am I truly congruent with it? And like you said, you're like, I'm congruent with it mostly. It's like you were congruent with it, yes. But this whole part of you that's in relationship with your family is not. And not from a direct not like an anti, but from a, you know what? I'm going to hold off on this until I can figure out how I can do this in a way that's honoring of me and honoring of them.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is such a beautiful, if you look at it, the energy underneath that is so beautiful. Is really like beautifully honoring of the people that you have made commitments to in your life. It's beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
now, thank you. Like this is, I'm a firm believer that we show other people how they can be by the choices and sometimes the tough choices we're willing to make for how we can be, And you are, I don't want to sound like I'm blowing smoke up your ass, but you are so one of those people. So, and being that, having that beautiful thing. So isn't it interesting? We would think, well, with all beautiful things should make everything in our life expand, except what happens is, so here's the other part I want to bring in. How could it, what are the infinite possibilities or what is possible you've never imagined for it to work out greater for all of you than you could imagine? And if you just get a sense of that, the next place to go is everything that doesn't allow that to show up with ease, will you let it go? Just say yes. You don't have to figure, the beauty of this is you don't have to figure out how to let it go. Figuring it out is what got you into this situation in the first place.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. If I don't have figured out how to let it go yet, then yes.
Okay. With all of this, you don't have to figure out any of it. In fact, you can't figure it out, which is why it's stuck in. Anyway, you get it. Yeah. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and puck, all 100, shorts, boys, Povez, bases, creations, and beyonds. So here we go again. What else is possible you can't even consider that would allow it to work out greater than you can even imagine and greater than they can? Okay. And this is where we start allowing consciousness, the universe, spirit, God, whatever it is for you that is willing to contribute, this benevolent source of the universe. And it's in no longer putting things in a box with our points of view, asking the questions. And then what happens is this clearing statement, as we do it, you undo what doesn't allow the box to break open and have a possibility that's totally different. How you doing? Better, worse, or the same?
Better.
Cool. Okay, now that right there, that's you and it interacting, right? Because the better is always when we get more of us. And once again, I apologize for saying better, worse, or the same, because people think I'm trying to look for a judgment or a validation, but it's more to get that sense of, are you, because when you get congruent with what's true for you, miracles happen. And you have been doing it ever since you started. Just somehow things work for you. They don't work for other people. Why is that? Because you're you. Because you're congruent with being it. You're like, yeah, I'm going to have this. And it works way better also if you don't buy anybody else's fixed point of view about how it should be or how it can be or how it can't be or what you got to do or what you don't have to do, where you're like, oh, thank you very much for caring enough to give me that information and I'm going to follow my knowing. That. So what else is possible from here that would make it work out far greater than any of you can imagine and far easier?
There's a vision forward for me in my life in which I can have it all. I can be as impactful in the world as I can and still be present as a father and a husband, and sometimes physically and sometimes present in my earning and present in my guidance and planning into the future. Lots of travel, lots of impact, lots of money, and more opportunities for both myself and my family.
Yeah. And that when you have so let me, well, two things, if I may. I don't know how long you wanted to talk today. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I could
Yeah,
go
we're
on for a
good.
little.
Yeah, we can keep going if you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. So a couple things. So let's say within the next 5 to 10 years, whatever it is for you, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to get a sense of having a lot of the things that you perceived as possible show up. Okay. And get the sense of having total ease with money. And it comes and it goes, and use it to create greater futures for you and other people, but it's always there and always your friend. Okay. Get a sense of your relationship with your wife and your child. One child?
Two.
Two kids. Okay. Get a sense of the relationship with your wife and kids being just so friggin' beautiful. You are contributing to each other all the time. You have this level of intimacy and caring for each other that is a creative energy and contribution to you both. Get the sense of whatever it is as far as time and space, like whether you're here this often or whatever, kind of working itself out in a way you can't imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. In some way that's just like, wow, I couldn't even have fathomed this was possible.
Yeah.
Okay. And get the sense of whatever you do, having it grow and change so you're always excited and enthused. Because let's face it, if you do something twice, you're bored with it.
Mm.
Okay. And get the sense of that being okay and finding a way to actually have that work in and contribute to and be part of everything else. Okay. Also, get the sense of whatever it is that you desire as far as acknowledgement from others or fame, whatever, to have it be an ease and a contribution to not only your life, but also your desire for your legacy, if you will, what you desire to gift the world.
Mm.
Okay. And having ease with it. Okay. And whatever else you might want to add. And what I'm doing with this, if we can get the energetic sense of it, even for a nanosecond, and then we just go, cool, everything that doesn't allow it, and everything that, and also do this, if you pull energy into that or expand it, however it seems to work for you, pull energy into it and then let little trickles go out to everyone and everything who's going to help make it a reality for you that you don't even know yet. And then will you say yes to actually having it?
Yes.
Cool. And as part of that, yes, it's kind of this, it's also saying, hey, consciousness, hey, universe, please contribute. I'm willing to do or be whatever I need to. I'm willing to change anything. I'm willing to gain anything. And here's the part people have a problem with sometimes because they have a projection about it, but I'm willing to lose anything or anyone that will actually make everything greater for me and everyone.
Huh.
Because a lot of what we won't choose is based on what we've decided we're going to lose. So everything that is, and everything you decided you would lose, which is kind of what we talked about before, that you don't have to lose. We decide it and then we think that's reality, but no, it's just our point of view. It's like, what are you dying to get out of? Oh, it's just a point of view. Cool. Everything that is, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. I don't know if anybody followed anything of what we did, but my point of view is if it contributes to you and makes your world greater, then
I
I've done
appreciate
my
that.
job,
I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that demonstration. I do feel better. It has eased. It has eased. It has
Cool.
eased. Yeah, in a noticeable way, and I appreciate that.
My
Um,
pleasure.
I know that you're game. So the next question out of my mouth, I know you're not going to take the wrong way. How often do you guys?
I might.
How often do you guys get accused of being a cult?
Oh God, that's so good. I love that question because we used to get accused of being a cult all the time. And there was one lady who was accusing us of being a sex cult, and Gary Douglas, my business partner, my founder, he wrote her a letter, or sent her an email, and he said, "I hear you're saying we're a sex cult. Could you do me a favor, please, and let us know when the next orgy is? Because none of us have ever been invited." You know,
Yeah,
and yeah, we get that, we get that sometimes, and we get it, like people that, use access tools, come to classes, will get that from their families.
sure.
And, and it's funny because it's dynamically dissipated over the years. But it's an interesting thing because in each case where somebody is saying that, you can see how just your very being and what you're bringing to the world seems threatening to them. You
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
people don't accuse you of being in a cult if they have any level of personal sense of self and, and self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's like bullies don't bully because they're powerful, they don't have a sense of self-awareness and personal power. So it's like, yeah, I hear that and I'm like, okay. Um, depending on, usually I'm like, cool, you do you, boo. If you think it's a cult, cool. And I used to want to defend it because I so wanted people to get,
Yeah.
it's not this, we're not trying to control anyone. We're trying to do the opposite, you know?
Mhm.
And then I did some studies. There's a book called True Believer where the guy lists, the elements of cults and this sort of thing. And
Sure.
I was like, oh, well, I guess we don't fit into that. Okay, cool. And at this point, I'm like, hi, you're a cult. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And at this point, people like, if I say, yeah, I'm part of a cult of sex and bling. I like people to have sex and enjoy their lives and have as much bling as they would like.
Yeah.
Go there.
Um,
But it's a way that people can use to reject for themselves, but also they have such a strong charge on it. They want to get other people to reject it,
right.
you know?
Yeah. Well,
And
well, and people criticize what they don't understand, and people criticize what they don't experience. And as it's my job in hosting this here podcast to ask questions like that, to kind of
yeah,
ask what people might be thinking. That's kind of my part of my special sauce is asking the question that everybody is thinking in the back of their mind. And I have, in my coaching work and working with people all over the world, you learn all kinds of people and how their experiences are and what they've been exposed to and what things that they, whether it's landmark forums or matrix energetics or Dr. Joe Dispenza or ayahuasca, and I'm here for all of it because I think all of it's interesting and fascinating as long as you're not trying to fuck my wife or everybody else's wife. Like, cool, like, good, as long as it honors people's sovereignty. And that's the thing
that
that matters the most. Like, that's the hill I'm willing to die on, is personal sovereignty. And again, there's receipts, and that's why I've been banned on you, or not banned, but put in YouTube jail and shadow banned on social media, is because sovereignty, bodily sovereignty, consciousness sovereignty, that shit matters the most. That freedom is the most important thing. And period.
I do not disagree.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't.
Do not disagree. Exactly that. And I mean, we could talk about so many things, like you said, it's like got the receipts, got the t-shirt,
Yeah.
got the, and that for me also, it's like there's so many things out there that demand that you become a follower that are perfectly acceptable to people out there in the world. And I'm not going to mention anything like politics or church or anything, so don't ask, but they have aspects of exactly that. And also separating from people who don't have the same agenda.
Mm.
Like what? Okay, so another synonym for consciousness is oneness, which once again is where everything exists and nothing is judged, but there's no separation, And so, like for me, I don't care if you're Christian, if you're green, black, white, male, female, undecided, like wherever you are on the spectrum, it's like you're included in my world. Now, whether you want me in yours is totally your choice, but it's also where like so many of the things that should have set people free over the years were used to trap them.
Uh-huh.
And the fundamental element of what creates that, I just want to make everybody aware of it so maybe they can get some more freedom or awareness, is when you take something that's true and then you attach a lie to it.
Oh
When you
yeah.
have a truth with a lie attached, that's a recipe for sticking people and gaslighting and creating followers. And one other element is that people always accuse you of what they themselves are doing.
Right.
So one of the times we'll be accused of being in a cult or being a cult is when somebody is in an abusive relationship that they start no longer allowing to be abusive or control them. They will say, "You're controlling my person, you're a cult, blah, 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 blah." And it's like, oh, sweetie, I wish, okay. Like, once again, like, I don't have any desire nor need to defend, but if we can start using some of these things in the course of our daily life, people always accuse you of what they themselves are doing. When somebody accuses you of being selfish, it's because they're selfish. If they accuse you of taking money, guess who took the money? If they accuse you of being gaslighting, guess who's gaslighting? If they accuse you of avoiding them, guess who's doing the avoiding? And this is not about making them wrong, though. This is about setting you free, because these areas where there is this lie involved, remember, a lie always makes us heavy. So these areas where there's a lie involved, it tends to stick a lot of us, especially if we're those people who walk through the world thinking that we should tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth all the time, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. By the way, that that's a story for another time. We can talk about that another time. But that gets used against those of us who are the seekers of the world a lot,
Yeah.
because a lot of people will not do as they should do unto you. They will do exactly as they want to do unto you for whatever their reasons and justifications are.
Sure.
And we got to recognize and I know you say this also, it's like exactly as you said, sovereignty. We are the only ones. We're the ones who have to have our back. We're the ones who have to know what's true for us. And we're the ones who have to be willing to follow what's true for us. And the whole thing of access consciousness, literally our tagline is empowering you to know that you know. And when when somebody's saying something and part of it is true, a popular thing when somebody is gaslighting somebody, I did this because I love you. Okay. I did this is true. Because I love you is a lie that then sticks the person who is the receipt of the gaslighting. So one of the things that can be helpful, if you ever have a conversation or hear something or get stuck by something and it keeps playing and you can't get rid of it, just go, hey, what part of this is true? And what part of this is a lie, spoken or unspoken? And what happens when you spot the lie, the whole thing unravels and it gets back to lightness again.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, when we're truly being us, there's a lightness with everything, not a flimsiness or an unsubstantialness. That lightness actually creates us being far more substantial in the world, far more where basically you become like the rock in the stream. where everything comes at you and goes around you, and you're still the rock in the stream.
Hmm.
And what a gift to be able to actually have that.
Yeah. What's your vision?
World world vision? Are we talking my
What's
actual my
what
actual target?
you specifically, Dane? What's your vision?
Okay, so I would call it a target, because you can take aim and shoot again and again and again at a target. And for me, is to create a sustainable, living, thriving Earth that involves all of us that are actually interested in being here to contribute to everyone getting greater. So basically, what that entails from my point of view is creating a planet that functions from consciousness, even with the people, because the planet, the plants, the animals already do it. You know, they're functioning primarily from their awareness and consciousness. Otherwise, they don't survive. But they're also functioning from contributing. They're an element of the whole that is a contribution to everything. I would like to create that in the people-y world also. And I'd like to empower the people that are willing to have something different to know that they're integral to actually creating it. And I like to empower the people that don't get judgment, that don't understand how to judge, that don't value judgment, to know that they're not only not wrong, they're a beautiful gift that contributes to all of us.
Ooh, well said. This theme continues to come up, you know, with this podcast, which is, working on yourself is the greatest gift that you can give to humanity. There's the Ram Dass quote, the greatest gift that I can give you is to work on myself, and the greatest gift that you can give me is to work on yourself. The other, I'll just throw it in there because the other Ram Dass quote that I love is, if you think that you're spiritually evolved, go spend the weekend with your family. Which is perfect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And and what I'm exploring with this experiment of the podcast is, what are tools that people can use to work on themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that will give them energy. Maybe it's cold plunges, maybe it's red lights, maybe it's starving yourself of food and water for 5 days. Maybe it's a psychedelic trip. Maybe it's access consciousness. What are the things that work? What are the things that work that we can use, that we get better? Oh man, we're more thoughtful. We're more intentional. We're creating, and we're supporting. We're working together. We're a pleasure to sit next to at a coffee shop. All turtles all the way down, like all the things, everything's all better. You're doing your best for yourself, because when you do, it affects not only you, but it also affects us, and it also affects all, and it also affects the universe. And oftentimes, because people get bogged down in their job or their relationships or in their nutrition or in their fitness or their habits, that they don't really have gas in the tank. They don't have
Yeah.
they don't have the energy to put forth to learn and experience things that are actually going to help them improve their lives. And so they revert back to half a bottle of wine or a Xanax or the Kardashians over and over and over, and they're just fucking tired, and they don't have that energy. And in my opinion, detox is really, really critical to clear out the junk so that you can make way for new cells and new perspectives and elevation of consciousness. And that's where I resonate with access consciousness, because shit, it might work for you. It might blow your mind. You never know what that thing is that changes everything. And then the
So
next,
true.
in a moment, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I thought like that. I can't believe I was I was that closed off. I can't believe that, and once once you have that, and it's not just a knowing, it's a capital KNOW, a knowing, a gnosis, but an experience of, oh, I can be different now. I can choose to do different things. I can let that version of myself that I was clinging to, I can just let that go. And then guess what? You're more likable. You're better looking. You're more interesting. And that trickles out into everywhere. Ellipses.
Boom.
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 uh,
And
yeah.
it does, and it affects everything. And I want to say one other element as that came up when you were mentioning that about, cold plunge, whatever. Greatest gift you can give yourself is detox from judgment, not along with everything else. Okay. And we do that by choice, but we also do it by question. And if the judgment comes up, you can do this clearing statement thing or just POC and POD, POC and POD, as a gift to give yourself. But the other thing I really want to state is if you choose to do some access, don't make it the source over you, and don't stop everything else that's already working.
Thank you for that.
Add it to use it to make it easier, use it to make it greater, use it to change the parts you haven't been able to change. Because like everybody, how many of you, I know I've been guilty of this so many times of, this is my new source. And it's like, dude, this whole consciousness includes everything. And
Yeah.
these things that you're doing that are working, do not throw out the baby with the bathwater. If you're going to do some access, add access to what you're already doing, and then see where it fits in the scheme of things.
I appreciate that a lot. It's not binary. It's not this or that, it is inclusive. and because you and I both believe in the potential of people to grow in lots of different ways, don't get rid of meditation, don't get rid of prayer, don't get rid of energy work, and
Yeah.
we're each of us are dynamic enough to learn new tricks and use the stuff that works on top of what else is working and have the courage to let go of the things that aren't working. This is spectacular. We're gonna attempt to land this plane here in a minute. What do the haters say?
Oh, same stuff. One of the things they'll say is, I'm in it for me, or Gary, the founder, my business partner, is in it for him. And I'm like, yeah, you could have a conversation with me and ask me a question about what's true for me, but you won't. So, same shit, different day, just judgment. You're wrong. You're a whatever. But truth is, I used to have a lot of that when I valued, because I think a lot of us that are doing anything to contribute to people, if we're really doing it from this place of truly desiring to contribute, we also want to make sure we're not going off the rails and fucking people up and fucking shit up. So there's almost a place where we like to invite the haters to make sure that we're not terrible people and just don't acknowledge it. And so, I was in that realm, and now, like, I hate, judge, like, how I can't even describe I can't even describe how impactful it used to be and how not impactful it is now. And how absolutely irrelevant it is. Like, if somebody hates you, that may have nothing to do with you.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, it doesn't.
And it usually doesn't. Now, if it did, I would totally take responsibility. And somebody's like, you did this. And I'd be like, I am so sorry. If I screw something up, I am the first one to go and apologize. Why? Because this is the appropriate thing to do, And so it's also an interesting thing to recognize that if we can stop valuing other people's judgments of us and stop limiting ourselves. Because one of the other things that will happen for somebody like you or me or somebody who is facilitating people in whatever way is they'll keep themselves small because they're making the judgment relevant. Guess what? If here's the deal. If you're not being judged by a huge amount of people, you're not big enough in what you're creating. How about that? You know? And it's so not relevant. It just, oh, let me give you another perspective that maybe some people out there might benefit from, which is energetically, if you're willing to receive judgment with no point of view, you make $5,000 more that year. How about that? If you try to reject the judgment, see, receiving judgment is if you go, you're a jerk, you're a you're a whatever, all the stuff, put all the words together and you're one of those. Okay. Receiving it means, oh, and you don't have any walls and barriers. You just let it on through.
Yeah.
In that case, it becomes energy. But it's also, we've got to be willing to receive everything because let's say money and creation, there's no such thing as a money issue. There's only an issue in what you're willing to receive. And it's what we're not willing to receive that limits our money.
Yeah, if you're not making waves, if you're not being provocative or making an impact, then, and this is, then you're not doing the thing. That didn't make any sense. I'm not going to edit that out, but that was just rubbish. My point.
I think we're getting to that point in the conversation where there's been a bit of shift and change, you know?
Yeah. I think that everyone has the choice. Either you can go big and be impactful. You know, you can totally change your life like today. And this is something that I remind people of that I'm working with. And I work with a lot of, you know, executives and entrepreneurs and people who run shit. And I tell them, this is all a choice. You're opting into all of this. You could fuck off to Bali literally tomorrow and never come back and just bail.
Yep.
And people forget that. They forget, you know, CEO, CFO, you know, executives, like, and they're like, well, no, I couldn't because I've got a meeting. And I'm like, you could leave your family and your life and your career and your fucking identity in Boston, get on a plane, fly to Bali, be a hippie, put on a saffron robe, make your way to Tibet, and never come back. You have that choice. And when people understand that they get to choose how they show up in the world and what they do, it's sometimes it boggles their brain a little bit and freaks them the fuck out, and that's okay. But it is really freeing to know that you get to choose all of this stuff. And I think it's really important to remind people of that. And what you've just said, it solidifies that in a really cool way. Well, this is a clunky landing, my man, but but I want to ask you one more question. It's a fill in the blank. But before I do that, if people want to learn more, where can they find you?
You can go to drdainheer.com. Also, if you can do Dr. Dain Heer on YouTube, I've got hundreds of videos contributing to people there. And, you know, on all the socials. And, you know, I do this to contribute to people. So go, please receive it. And also, if you want to learn about that clearing statement, you go to theclearingstatement.com. There's an explanation of it. That also is free. My gift to you, please use it, man. This place we call home could be a lot easier for a lot of us if we just add the tools.
Thank you for giving us the domain for the clearing statement, because I did want to ask about pod and POC and all that stuff, but I'm just going to let people do their own research and learn about it on their own. So wonderful. Thank you. This is the final question. This is a fill in the blank. I've asked this question hundreds of times. Sometimes I get sick of it, so I don't ask it, but I think that this one is really relevant. And this can be regarding anything. and that you can elaborate as much or as little as you want, but please fill in the blank. Everyone would benefit from knowing
that they know and that they don't have to avoid it.
Dain Heer, thank you so much for joining me today on the OPP.
Sean, been such a pleasure. Thank you.